You're listening to the Vicis Interimo show. 30 minutes to kill, more or less.
You are listening to the... How do I pronounce this? Is it Vicis Interimo? No, I want to know. I want to at least announce it properly.
Take two.
You are listening to the Vicis. You are listening to the Vicis Interimo show. 30 minutes to kill, more or less.
You are listening to the Vix I don't even know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. Interimo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Welcome to the Vicis Interimo 30 Minutes to Kill podcast.
I don't think that guy appreciated me saying that was on a recorded line.
I don't think so either.
Well, we'll talk more about that later.
What do they care anyway?
I don't know, but he said the game was on.
Like,
so.
what can you do? So what? You recorded it.
Well,
what are you going to do about it?
I'm going to put it on the podcast.
Yeah, but
what podcast is that? So anyhow,
probably Vicis Interimo.
You probably after that intro, you're not sure. You don't know how to pronounce the name. That intro was for
Interimo.
Al. That was for Al. And Al, you may have recognized that second voice as being Josh. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Oh, no, you played that?
I played that. I played those. I strung them all together.
Oh, boy.
For episode 334.
Okay.
That's 334 of the Vicis Interimo show. 30 minutes to kill, more or less. That's probably really loud in the mic.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. At any rate... laid to rest. I actually wanted the computer in front of me so I could see what we talked about last week and go over all the different things. Is that plane going over loud enough?
I think it is.
All right.
Well, what was last week's movie?
Last week's movie was...
The Hallow.
The Hallow, yeah.
Why? Oh, no, you're not going to listen to last week's podcast, are you?
Not right now. There we go.
There
wow,
go.
That was awful.
Shut that thing off.
All right.
The
Hallow.
Do you have anything to add or omit from last week's opinion of The Hallow?
Nope, I don't.
I think we decided, or you decided, that you liked it a lot better than I did.
That's true. But they can go back and hear that episode. What I did need to clear up was I had a couple of misspellings and stuff. That was from the Gacy episode. That goes back a little bit further.
Oh, my goodness.
Such as Compy's Castle and so on.
Yeah.
The most recent episode, though, we talked a little bit about The Last of Us, Altered Carbon.
Which we said we'd watch more of those and talk about it this week, and we didn't watch any more of it, so we still don't have anything to say.
Well, I was going to save that for the... laid to rest, or rather garbage in, garbage in, garbage out. That's
but we didn't watch any more of it.
This is true, but we'll get into that more later, because Al, I know, was looking forward to hearing more about Altered Carbon, but we didn't get to that.
We haven't watched it. How are we going to talk about it? I mean, we watched part of the first episode.
To talk about it, that's what I'm going to say.
So we just said it. What's to talk about?
I was going to say what we watched instead, and so on.
Okay.
All right, moving along.
That has nothing to do with Altered
Let's
Carbon.
just get into the movie that we're going to talk about today, then.
That's probably a good idea.
Let me shut that down before you get started. I guess that was the other lady that I talked to on the phone. Anyhow.
You're just going to put me in my place, aren't you?
That's right.
What would she say? You're getting old. What'd she say? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll talk more about that also.
What is happening around our house?
I don't know. We have a visitor this week.
Yeah,
and
for the next 2 weeks.
For the next 2 weeks. So maybe I'll get her. Can I dupe her into being on the podcast?
Maybe.
We've already heard her voice at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be your sister-in-law. But anyhow.
My sister-in-law?
My sister-in-law. Your sister.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're completely derailed enough. The Nightworld. That's the movie we need to talk about.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, let's put in a couple of sound effects and some music and whatever.
You really think I should go to Sofia?
It's an amazing city, and with your background, you're a perfect fit for the gig.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Anderson.
What kind of business do you guys run out of this place other than 4 apartments in a 3-story building?
What do you keep back there, King Kong?
As if even you get the slightest inkling of something strange, use this, and someone will answer and instruct you what to do.
What are you doing?
I am listening.
What kind of work do you do over there? I never see anybody going or coming from that place.
I have a bad feeling about this place. These people are hiding something from me. Hello?
I did what you are doing now. Until my eyesight was taken from me. Do not go into the hangar alone.
This place is so cool. Who is she?
It's my wife. My late wife.
We believe in the afterlife. This building held the power to bring them back.
You're not real. You can't be real.
It's me. You're Anna.
If you do not do as I ask, everything you know, everything you love, will end.
Open the door!
So, Nightworld, when a former LA Officer Brett takes a job as head of security in an old apartment building in Bulgaria's capital, he begins to experience a series of bizarre and terrifying events. Once he begins to delve into the building's sinister history and investigate its shadowy owners and past employees, Brett uncovers malevolent forces nested deep in the bowels of the building that will do anything to be set free in the world. Nightworld.
That sounds awesome.
So was the movie we saw, right?
No.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Are you being sarcastic, or you really didn't think it was awesome?
A little bit. And
You
it's
know
mostly
what?
disappointment on my part. So,
I really wanted to love this movie. I really wanted it to be something special. It had all of the really cool things that I like in a story. Mysterious door with runes on it. Symbols to seal it. What's behind the door? I don't know. This whole building was built around this thing to protect this space that we don't know what's in there.
other buildings in the area were destroyed, but this one stood when others didn't.
Yeah. I loved the mysterious owners, though they weren't really the owners, but whatever. This guy is hired to come in and be daytime security.
Daytime security, yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be
weird.
locked between 11 and, what does it say?
All of the doors were supposed to be locked, and he was supposed to be out of there by 11 p.m., and then he was to go back at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that was a little funky, because I thought, wait, he works that many hours just sitting there staring at these monitors all day long
Well,
in
there
the
were
silence?
6 or 8 monitors. Well, maybe we read the
Are we jumping
synopsis,
ahead?
but maybe we should back up a little bit. I mean...
the movie starts out, this guy, Brett...
Brett, who's played by Jason London. So... I first became aware of him, I think, like in Mallrats. It's got him, and it's got Robert Englund in it and stuff. So you're saying, yeah, he's the...
You know what? Actually, this is going to sound really bad, but when I didn't know Robert Englund was going to be in it.
Right.
And while I love Robert Englund, who doesn't? When I saw his name in the title, like as the movie was starting and the names were coming up, I sort of thought, uh-oh.
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 That lowered your expectations?
Because then I knew it was probably going to be a movie that kind of sucked, though he was going to be great.
Right.
So that does kind of make up for it. Because, I mean, I want to see everything he's been in.
Okay.
He's always great.
Okay.
The movies are not always great.
Okay. So that was alarm bells went off.
A little bit.
When you okay.
And I went into this thing blind. I didn't know anything about it, which was good.
Right. Well, okay. So
our hero.
Yeah.
He's an American who has lived in Bulgaria, right?
Yeah.
For 3 years. He said he, what was he?
So here's the thing.
There were a couple problems with the story, but
it's
not the big picture story, but like the little details. Some things were kind of funky.
Right.
But it starts out, he's living out in the country by a beautiful lake. He's lived there with his wife. You find out that his wife had died.
Right. It very quickly, first 10 minutes into
it jumps right in and gives you all of this right off the bat.
Right. And he's suffering from nightmares. He has issues dealing with his wife or not. He has issues because his wife has passed at this point.
Right.
He's a guy living alone in the woods.
We won't say how she passed.
Right.
But
so the first 10 minutes into the film, while I enjoyed the initial look of it, and everything, the set, it looked clean. You could tell a lot of production went into it. I would like to say a lot of money went into it. Maybe not, but it was shot beautifully.
It had a really good look to it.
And about 10 minutes into the movie, I thought, well, I've picked another dud. Not a dud, but I've got a not a horror movie. I have something here that's going to be a psychological drama, or you know what I mean. My expectations got to kind of started going down and started to be diminished. And then we get a scene, a horrific, gory scene. Not gory, but you know what I mean. Just a blood-soaked scene,
a graphic scene.
A graphic scene. There we go. And so I'm like, oh, okay, nope, it's going to be a horror movie. Okay, good. I felt a little better about it then.
Okay, because you've been picking a lot of movies lately that have not been horror. Just saying.
Okay, whatever. Anyhow,
we need to get back on the horror track.
Moving along, his friend basically gets a job for him, knowing that he's in a funk.
Well, that's what we were starting to say. He lives in the country, in the home that he shared with his wife.
Right.
And his friend is like, you need to either get some help or get out of here or whatever.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why he decides to leave his home in the country and go into the city. And and I didn't even understand. You caught that. I don't know how I missed that his friend got him a job.
Well, he told him told him quickly. It was in there. You had to be listening closely, and maybe he was adjusting your chair.
Because he was talking about needing. I thought they talked about him needing some kind of help or therapy or something, and the friend said something about finding a place for you, or I thought he was going somewhere for therapy or for help. And it was halfway through the conversation that he has with these two men in suits. I was like, oh wait, this is a job interview. I felt stupid. But you knew what was going on.
I was on track.
Maybe I blacked out for a minute.
So then we get to the setup we've already talked about, or what's going on and stuff. He's obviously being hired to guard something. It's very mysterious. There's not a whole... They question him about his dead wife, and he gets very defensive and so on, and what that got to do with the job interview. So you tell things are going wrong on both sides. So at this point, I'm now thinking, okay, is it, are they hiring somebody damaged for of important position that and at this point my mind starts grasping for other movies that have this feel or what have you.
And do you understand why that would have been important or would have been an issue or would have been a thing?
They just wanted to know everything about him. Evidently they
already knew. I mean, what?
So they wanted to
knowing what you know about the story, which you would only know if you've seen it. Did you see any reason why someone who had a dead loved one that they were dealing with? Do you see any reason why he was better for that job because of that? Or
no, I think it's just one of those things where they get you in a job interview and they ask you hard or trick questions just to see how you're going to respond to them.
I guess.
I mean,
well, see, that's where.
So this is where certain elements of the story kind of don't quite fit. So we've got what I feel is awesome potential.
The big picture story was really great.
Right.
But those little things, it was an awkward interview. He didn't, ask any question. Like, a normal person would be like, what exactly am I doing? Or what do you guys do here?
Right. Well, he finally gets around to that, and like, what do you guys, because at some point...
But they don't tell him, and it's fine.
Yeah, and he's still okay with it.
Yeah, I just...
So, certain other elements needed to be fleshed out, and so, I mean, this is where we always talk about it. It's all about the story. Well, the big story was fine. It was the little elements that needed to be...
Yeah, it needed some better...
glued together, and the writing was, while it was okay...
Yeah.
It wasn't great. And it's like, only because I cared enough about the big story... to want to know and see the little things.
That's
I want to see the little things smoothed out and fleshed out.
Yeah.
So we talk about. So we read the synopsis story, the characters, the acting. Acting was okay, but Jason rather, you couldn't tell whether his acting was poor, or he's supposed to be that way. Is he supposed to be a little uncomfortable and a little awkward?
Because I noticed that too. I had actually written under Brett, which is his character's name,
right?
I wrote some awkward moments, the acting, the character. Like, I wasn't sure what was... Yeah. Like, he didn't... And I hate to keep saying he didn't act like a regular person would. I mean, because what's a regular person, what's normal, what's... Anything goes with people, right? We're all different. But there was just something a little funky.
Yeah. And I didn't know if that was supposed to be in the character or in the story. I think
it was just a writing problem. Writing, directing?
Maybe. The direction, I mean... I'm going to say the editing, because this was edited.
See...
No?
Well, if there's nothing good to edit... and not that there was nothing... Because, I mean, what he was saying was kind of... not real well thought out. I didn't think it wasn't real...
Yeah, it felt like, and I've said this before, where some of these things I feel like they need to go to another person.
I don't know what was wrong.
Whoever's written the story or whatever it's been adapted from, I feel like it needs to go to another person, an editor or somebody else.
Yeah, they should have gave us a call. They should have called us.
That might be going a little bit too far, but they just need somebody else to flesh it out, to maybe take some of the rough edges off, those little things that feel awkward. I feel like there's a way of writing more natural dialogue.
Maybe that's what it. Maybe it was just unnatural.
I'm not a writer,
then.
and I'm not necessarily the person
I can't say we could do better. That is true. But we can identify awkwardness.
Exactly.
It was awkward.
Being awkward ourselves, we know how to identify awkward people.
Because he starts his job. The job comes with a place to live. He lives in the building. He has a nice little apartment.
Yeah.
They tell him that there's 6 other apartments or something.
I think four apartments in 3-story building.
Whatever.
Basically.
Yeah. So, but he doesn't see many people. He can hear people moving around or whatever.
Right. He runs into the cleaning lady.
Yeah.
And
there's not a ton of other characters. He does meet a girl down the road that works in a cafe.
Right.
That was some awkward exchanges. Like, I just feel like real people don't act like that or have those kind of exchanges.
Now, having said that,
again, anything goes with people. Anything goes.
And it takes place in a foreign country.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I'm not a world traveler.
I don't know.
I don't know what exchanges with us or me or whoever being an American outside of another culture. That might be. The exchanges might be...
The movie pushed the relationship along really quickly. So, like, he goes in and orders a coffee, and she's, cute, and says, "You don't want that.
Yeah.
You'll have to bleep me out now. Let me make you a real coffee." But, like,
because he asked for American coffee, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, you don't want that."
Yeah. And, right away she's kind of throwing herself at him a little bit. It's very obvious
I understand. He's an American. How could she not?
I don't know.
We're so irresistible.
I don't know. Oh, is that it?
Talk about the ugly American. Anyhow.
Yeah. But so it was, I thought, okay, well, here's his love interest. It's pretty obvious. I mean, it's obvious when you go, oh, okay, this is going to be the love interest, but like right away, I mean, the flirting and all that. But I wasn't sure how much time was supposed to go by the next time they saw each other. And
right. I think it was the next day, and that's the other thing. The timeline was a little odd.
Well, yeah, I had no idea how much time was going by.
At this point, though,
Because there's little tricks you can use in movies, to
mail stacking up newspapers or something.
Give the viewer a sense of pressing forward. Okay, he's been doing this for a month now. Was he there 3 days, or has he been there for a month? I have no freaking idea.
Well, okay, going back to that, then there are some things that are put in time frame. But anyhow, we're general discussion on the movie.
Okay, for anyone who's seen this who thinks we're an idiot right now, we do realize there was a time jump. We won't talk about it because it's part of the story.
Pretty obvious.
But we do jump forward.
We do.
But even then, before the time jump happens, I still can't tell how many times he saw this girl or how many days had gone by at the job.
Not many, and so on. But anyhow, so it's about the movie. I know that. I just know these things.
Okay.
All right, so what do you think, when it comes down to it, is this a movie you'd recommend? Can you think about,
probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, if there's nothing else to watch, that makes it sound really bad. I mean, there's just so many other.
I'm going to have to agree with you because I want it is because I had such hopes for it.
You know what, I from the beginning I was writing down things that I liked, but then it kind of went all wrong. But I had, it's different. Mm-hmm. Just in general.
Should we say the movies that it reminded us of? Or elements, not saying that their story plot points, correlate straight across or anything. But
it only reminded me, or I had high hopes of it being like something.
Another Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah, I wanted it to be Cabin in the Woods, like Bulgaria edition or whatever.
Which would have been absolutely awesome. I thought about that. I thought about Carnivale. Do you remember that show from HBO?
Yeah. How in the world does this
There's
even
one
resemble
specific episode where it definitely reminds me about that. We'll talk about that then it got off the air.
Oh, no. Please watch Carnivale if you haven't seen it.
Maybe spend your time watching
Don't
that instead.
watch this movie. Watch Carnivale. And sadly, Carnivale's only
2 seasons.
Yeah.
And it ends with a cliffhanger.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Anyhow, I've cut you off. What was that?
It was different, so I liked that about it.
Right.
Right from the beginning, it was just kind of quirky and different, if that makes any kind of sense. Once he moves into the that old building was really cool.
Oh, the set and the locations were beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah. I wrote that I liked the way it was filmed. I liked the sets. The film and the color, whatever equipment, whatever film cameras, whatever. I know nothing about that. I'm an idiot with that kind of stuff. But whatever they use, like the crispness, just the way. Is that thing recording?
Yes, it's
because I'm throwing it out the window if it is not recording. Because I can't go through that again.
It's fine.
Thank goodness.
Okay.
So, and I think you touched on that earlier, that you like how it looked.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was very professionally
and
done.
Crisp and shot well. Yeah.
That's why I'm sad that the story and the dialogue kind of. I still think the big story was really awesome because it was kind of Lovecraftian. It was right up my alley.
Well, here's the thing, and the other movie that it reminded me of a lot, and I'll just say this: it's The Prince of Darkness. John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. It had a similar elements and feel to it.
I'm not familiar enough with that. That's why I didn't think of it.
Maybe we need to do that at some point then, because while I'd like to see that again. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'm sure
I've seen it with you, but I just can't.
It's been a while, but anyhow, so if you're at all familiar with that, because that's one of the 3 movies. Yeah, The Thing.
But you'd have to put up with the interactions between the characters.
And there's The Thing. Says End of the World trilogy. In the Mouth of Madness and Prince of Darkness, I think, were the 3 for his trilogy. Anyhow, what was my point? My point was your time is probably better spent watching, because at the end of this, I was disappointed. I wanted to give it high marks.
Right, I did too.
I've got to give it like a 2.5.
Okay.
It's just under.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't like it.
Because it was, I went from my list, like I said, it deteriorated. Well, I had different and like the beautiful filming and the set and the. While I loved all of that stuff, my list ended with corny and characters' reactions. I wrote unbelievable with a question mark because I still can't put my finger on what the heck was wrong with those people.
Right.
So just unbelievable reaction. Like, people don't act that way.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, anything goes with human beings, but it was just really...
It didn't feel...
It was very...
organic.
Pedestrian?
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry, writers. Guys, sorry. I hate saying stuff like that. And then I wrote that it was sometimes comical.
Yeah.
And like some of Robert Englund's scenes, and I had to ask the question here, was this supposed to be?
I don't think so.
Was it just automatically comical because of the way he acts and delivers his lines?
Well, they made some interesting choices with his character.
Because he was very... when he was on the set, in the scenes...
Mm-hmm.
It was very serious. He was there for a serious reason.
For a serious reason, sure.
But then, yeah, some of the lines they gave him, though, and stuff, it was just funny.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So, what was your number?
I don't know. Oh, one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was... I'm assuming it was rated R. Did it have a rating?
I believe it was rated R.
I mean, this was a regular... I don't know if these days you never know if they come out on Netflix, if they're made for a cable channel.
Right.
I have no idea. It should be rated R.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote here, rated R for awkward sex scene that turns funny. It should say super awkward sex scene that turns ridiculously funny. It wasn't supposed to turn funny. It was supposed to be serious.
50 gallons? Anyhow. Okay.
So bad. You're giving it a 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. Yeah, because 3 has liked it. Oh, I
liked it.
I really wanted to like it. I didn't.
My initial reaction when I sat down is like, I'm going to have a tough time picking just 5 movies this year because I've seen more than 5 movies that I really like this year.
And of course, you're talking to our end of
year show, next year's show. We always go back and pick our 5 for 2018. I thought this was going to easily fit in that slot. Well, that's what I hoped to when it started.
That is so. You and I are too much alike. We're so boring.
By the end, no, not so much.
Yeah, and that's what I decided because halfway through it, I still thought I liked it.
Yeah,
like I got pretty close to the end, and then I realized I'm
not going to give.
I'm kidding myself. I am actually flat out lying to myself. I don't like this at all. It just went like love-hate relationship. I went from this is going to be really great to, you know what, I can't do this. Okay. So I'm going to have to give it a 2.
Okay.
And I can't, I'm sorry, I can't give it a recommend unless there's nothing else to watch. You might want to check it out. I don't know.
Fast forward through it? I don't know. Even then,
no,
I think
you can't. No, you can't.
You can't.
No, yeah. You know what? If you like Robert Englund and you like to keep up with his work and check out everything he's done and you haven't seen it yet, you absolutely have to watch it.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I don't know.
No. Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Didn't we just run into Robert Englund at Taco Bell the other day?
That was hilarious. The same day we watched this movie.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to explain that real quick?
We ran into somebody. It obviously was not Robert Englund, but it was somebody that very much reminded us of him.
Yeah.
It's funny because you commented on the beard and you couldn't quite identify what made him look like that. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like the lower half of his face, his chin and his nose and maybe the cheeks.
He totally looked like him.
The hat that he was wearing kind of covered the eyes and he looked a little squinty. And we see him in this movie. And he looks just like the guy. Now it's not the guy from Taco Bell. It's Robert Englund looks just like that guy we saw at Taco Bell.
Yes.
With the beard and everything. So.
And that was what was so funny, because when I looked at him, I'm like, oh my gosh, do you think that's Robert Englund's dad? I only said that because he had a gray beard and mustache, which I haven't seen Robert Englund really wear.
Right.
So, I mean, while it looked like him, I'm like, well, he certainly wouldn't be walking around with a gray beard. But and then here he was in this movie with the gray beard.
Perfect.
Look, just that was so funny.
Anyhow, garbage in, garbage out.
That made the movie better.
Okay.
Okay.
I mentioned for garbage in, garbage out that we really didn't have anything necessarily much to talk about. If you were listening to the podcast a couple weeks ago, you know I mentioned that we had a doctor's visit that we went to here recently. So with that in mind, we've had a lot to think about and so on, and wanted just some mac and cheese for our brain. We didn't get back to altered carbon because we didn't want anything that we could really have to focus on and stuff, and I really want to devote my attention to it because I'm really looking forward to Altered Carbon. So sorry about that, Al. You'll have to wait just a little bit longer. When I said we wanted some mac and cheese, we wanted some comfort food. We wanted something just to enjoy and kind of check your brain. And along that line means we've watched the entire series of Harry Potter. Well,
Yes.
we're at the second half of the Deathly Hallows. I think we need to finish it.
Yes.
That's it. But that was what we spent our week watching every movie from beginning to end.
Yep.
I'm glad to say there is still things that I'm noticing about these movies that I hadn't before.
Oh,
there are
nice.
small things that I've noticed.
Yeah, I'm noticing now little tiny things in the background that other people are doing.
Yeah.
Because, the first 5 or 6 times I've watched them, you're watching the main characters or the ones kind of in the foreground, even if you're not watching the main ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I find myself, my eyes are browsing the way in the background.
And there's plenty in there. There's plenty
There
of
is.
Easter eggs and so on.
Yeah.
There's also, the other thing about this is, even if you don't necessarily care for Harry Potter, or only like it marginally, there's a lot more...
How can that be?
I don't know. There's a lot more, if you do like Harry Potter, there's a lot more to follow up on because J.K. Rowling has has put a lot on Pottermore. So she continued to write things and she continued to flesh things out. So there's story details that you can find, and I just did it by searching YouTube or whatever, finding things here and there to watch.
On YouTube?
That added to story background, a little bit of information, the entire timeline of Voldemort from his birth in 1922 to death in 1990.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the people who do those YouTube videos probably got all the information off Pottermore.
They mentioned a lot of it came from Pottermore.
Because Pottermore, I mean, if you love her writing and you love the books, she's written so much more since those books about Harry and his dad and just all the different characters. She's written a lot more about all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we mentioned Al a lot this episode. That's because one thing that absolutely made my week
Hi, Al.
was Al's unbagging video that he sent me. I certainly appreciate that. As I've mentioned before,
that was fun.
For our patrons, that if you just want to go ahead, give us your address or a address for us to send a small series of light horror gifts to you. Anyhow, Al saved his and did an unbagging for me, and that
yes, he did.
The only thing disappointing about that bagging was probably the items that he actually pulled out of the bag, but it was certainly nice and wonderful.
Which would be everything. I think he pulled everything out.
Yeah, he did, and so I wish that had been much better. But anyhow, I was delighted to see him, and I appreciated that.
Yes,
so.
Al, he loved the video. I have to tell you.
It brings a smile to my face every time.
Yes, he's smiling right now.
Indeed. So, anyhow, enough
nice
about that.
Seeing Al.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anything else for Garbage In? That's probably enough Garbage In. Do we have a Crawling Chaos?
Sure.
Okay, super. Well,
it's an educational one.
All right. Well, let's say one more time, because we mentioned that Al was a patron. Our patrons are at Lonely Bob, Big Al V, and Goldafish. And we are certainly grateful to them. If you're interested in supporting the show and don't necessarily want to do it with a donation or anything of that nature, you can help just by liking, commenting, or subscribing. You can find us on Facebook, Podomatic, any number of places just by putting in VICIS INTERIMO. That's right, Vicis Interimo, the awesome podcast with the unpronounceable name.
That's it.
Let's get ready for some edumacation.
Okay, well, how do you feel about cats?
I like cats. I'm more of a dog person,
cats.
but I like
Don't
cats.
let Lola hear you say that.
She's a love anyhow.
Yeah, she's better than any old dog.
Well, she acts like a dog. That's why I like her
she does.
so much.
she does. She thinks she's a person.
She does.
Yeah.
Yeah, she talks to us.
She does.
Anyhow.
Yep. Well,
now we have schizoaffective disorder.
What?
People are going to think we have schizoaffective disorder because
why?
The cat talks to us. And we
Oh,
talk to
boy.
her. Never mind.
Okay.
Moving on.
Anyway, yeah, I said this one's educational. It's only educational if you
care about cats.
Yeah,
okay.
People that don't get around cats anyway aren't going to care about this.
Okay,
but this was always something I always thought was really interesting that most people don't know, because when I mention it in front of people, everyone looks at me half sideways and they think I'm making stuff up. Mm-hmm. Well, do you happen to be allergic to cats?
I'm not.
You haven't been allergic to any cats?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I've been around a lot of cats in my life,
mm-hmm.
and a couple of them tried to kill me with my allergies.
Okay.
I didn't know what was going on.
Uh-huh.
Well, a lot of people are allergic to cats.
But is it actually cats, or?
Well, it says here in this really good article I found, which is kind of funny because it said this was a recent study. Like, they made it sound like they're just learning this,
mm-hmm.
but I've been hearing this for 20 years, so I don't know why this... Anyway, this scientist, let's see, who is she? She's... Where is it? I have it here. Cat geneticist. Maybe that's it. It took a cat geneticist to actually publish something.
Okay.
So people are finally listening. Now it's like something brand new, even though I've been telling people for a million years. She runs the University of Missouri's Feline and Comparative Genetics Lab.
Okay.
So she says there's no such thing as a hypoallergenic cat. So how many times have you heard people say, I'm allergic to a cat, I should get a hairless cat? Or like one of the Rex varieties that have the short curly hair, they don't shed. So people are under the impression, it says right here, many people believe that the amount of fur or hair that an animal has is what causes their allergy. Well, you already know the answer to this.
I do. I've heard this before, and I believe you.
Yes. Basically, you are not allergic to the hair, so your hair could be your hair. Your hair.
I don't have any more. Thanks for rubbing that in.
You've got enough on. Never mind. I was going to say you've
chin.
got
yeah, my chin,
enough
right?
on your face.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say your back.
What the heck?
Don't choke on your water. Anyway, okay, as the scientist points out, it's not true that it's the cat's hair that you're allergic to. Cats are unique within the animal world because they produce a specific protein that other animals do not, even dogs, which is why some people are incredibly allergic to cats and not other species. This protein is known as the FEL-D1 protein. FEL-D1 protein. FEL, I'm assuming feline.
Sure.
That's maybe where they named it that.
Okay.
It's found in their skin, their saliva, and their urine. Okay? So here we go.
Triple threat.
When a cat licks its fur, and what do cats do all day long
Lick their fur.
Lick themselves, whether they have fur or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even the hairless cats lick themselves. When the cat licks its fur to clean itself, the FEL-D1 containing saliva dries and becomes an airborne allergen. So I've been telling people that forever. You're allergic to their spit. Maybe people just don't want to hear that.
Maybe so.
Because, yeah, if you think about it, you know, if you licked yourself, your skin would be wet afterwards, right?
Right.
And it dries, and there's, that's what's happening with the kitties. So maybe this is just a public service announcement.
Maybe so.
I don't know how educational this is, but here I am again trying to spread the word.
Okay. Well, that's what's different about this podcast, right?
Well, Crawling Chaos.
Could be anything.
This segment is, of course, has to be a topic we've never talked about before, and we've never talked about
cat spit
and allergies.
Right.
But yeah, so I feel like there was one other thing here. Okay, so some people would argue, because they've said it to me before, like, oh, I've had short-haired cats and long-haired cats, and I was much more allergic to the long-haired cats, so obviously it's the fur, the hair, right?
Right.
This says if a cat has more fur, it isn't that they're producing more allergens.
They're licking more.
It's that they're putting, putting more allergens into the environment, which is why even bringing a cat into a home for a short time can bother allergic visitors long after the cat is gone. Because the hair is a vector for the allergen to get around the house and get into the air.
All right.
And yeah, super hairy cats do lick themselves a lot more, and they lose a lot more hair. They're just spreading their spit around more.
Even more.
So, and obviously, it didn't really touch on it in this article, But like I said, I am generally not allergic to cats, but I have met a couple, like I said, that tried to kill me with their spit. That I couldn't hardly go in the person's house, and I could not, if I picked up their kitty, which I always want to do, like just instant allergy fit. Like, so I would have liked to learn about that.
Okay, well,
like how
is there a link to
they're
this?
different.
You have a link to this article, yeah?
Oh, I'm looking for my glasses and they're not here. I do have a link. However, I'm not going to give this link only because it's on the SmithsonianMagazine.com webpage, and when I was on there, they do have a lot of ads and pop-up craziness.
Oh, okay.
I hate to do that to people.
Gotcha.
But I think you could do any internet search probably, and this lady, the cat geneticist, is Leslie Lyons, Lyons. So you could probably find her research online. She's the feline and comparative genetics lab head at Missouri University.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you could learn more about it, I'm sure, online somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, I hate to, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we could give the link, but...
With a warning?
I hate that. I mean, Smithsonian Magazine is a great resource. I mean, we get the magazine. I love reading it. They're a great Smithsonian. I mean, they're a great organization, company, whatever you want to call them. The museum, the magazine, everything's great. I don't know why their website sucks.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Smithsonian.
Well, having said that, I think we killed it.
We did.
You can always get in contact with us by emailing me directly at madsaxon, MADSAXXON @yahoo.com. Or look us up on Facebook just by punching in VICISINTERIMO. Or just friend me, S. Michael Jones.
Okay.
Thanks for listening. I have a bonus episode here. Not a bonus episode, but we absolutely should have covered this in Laid to Rest. I wanted to talk about the cordyceps. We never talked about that in The Hollow.
Yeah.
So this is only if people really listen to the whole episode. This is going to be on the very end.
Oh.
It's terrifying what you told me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That article that they put out recently.
Right. And that was the fact that cordyceps, we assumed initially, was it took over the body of the thing that it was in. At least that was my understanding.
And of course the cordyceps fungus currently is something that attacks insects.
Right.
For some people have never heard of that.
Right, zombie ants.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Maybe they didn't play The Last of Us, but you should have.
It's terrifying anyway.
But okay, so the assumption was that it got in there and took over the brain and made the ants do things. But they're now postulating or speculating that it's not. It actually takes over the body of the thing that it's taking over, and it's not taking over
the brain.
And if that's true, that's terrifying. The implications of that means that the funguses, or whatever it is intelligent and has a will, and it's using the body, and you or it might not be. Maybe I'm making this up and making it sound so much worse.
Well, being that we have, we love and have played The Last of Us 800 times. Of course, the story with The Last of Us is that the cordyceps fungus actually has evolved enough to take over human beings.
Right.
So, in that, you imagine, okay, people have had their brains infected with this fungus, just like a zombie or something. You imagine, okay, well, that's not my loved one anymore. Their brain is gone.
Yeah.
But
this information implies
this switches it around.
Yeah, and it's just using the body for its own means, and there's something.
Meaning their brain is still intact.
That's bothered me for like a week now, 2 weeks since you watching The Hollow.
Yeah.
And then you telling me that when we finished.
Yeah.
What the heck? That's
because then I
frightening
thought
implications.
Yeah, and I thought, oh my gosh, in The Last of Us, when you're walking around, you're having to kill,
blasting things away.
Yeah, it's like your loved one or your friend or whatever. You're a stranger that's coming up and attacking you. If their brain is if they're still themselves, like they can't control themselves. They know what's happening.
Scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think anybody actually heard this, or they turned the podcast off already?
Maybe. I don't know.